So as I was saying, lust and things like that, it doesn't go away just because you're married. It just doesn't, so you have to get prayer, you have to get deliverance for those issues, or it will cause problems in your marriage. So it did cause some issues for me, but I thank God that he was able to deliver me from those things. So, um, so yeah, that first year of my marriage was very rough. It was rough for my husband. It was rough for me. Us just learning how to be one with each other and how to live with each other. And of course, it got better. We have still had things that we've had to go through over the years, but it got better. So fast forward to 2020, because that was, of course, the year that changed everything, not only for me, but of course for all of us. That was the year of the global pandemic, where we were all shut in. We had to stay at home. And, like I said, it was a lot even for most people, because it's something we have never experienced or gone through in our life, right? But it had the same effect on me, but also in a different way. This was the year where I want to say I was called and commissioned by God as a prophet. And that's the first time that I'm really saying this, because I don't like to call myself a prophet. I don't even like to give myself that title. But God has been really dealing with me about that, and he's said it to me and confirmed it to me many times. And not only him, it's from others too, but that, because I never want to platform myself, and I feel like by calling myself that I'm platforming myself. I'm giving myself a title, and I don't come on here like Prophetess Dominique like that. I don't believe in that. I'm very much like, I'm here to give a word, and I leave it and then I go. You know what I'm saying? I exit, because being in this limelight is a lot for me, and it was new for me, but in 2020 is really when it began. And it began by God giving me I want to say 2 to 3 instructions. One of those, well, no, I want to say it started with a dream that I had. And I had never been a prophetic dreamer. I had not been a person that dreamt about anything. But I had a dream. I had a dream concerning the pastor of the church that I was attending at that time. I'm not going to tell you what church. But I was going to a church at the time, and God gave me a dream about the head pastor of this church. And it shocked me. Pretty much the dream just consisted of revealing his true character. And this was odd to me, because I never thought of him in a negative way. I actually thought very highly of him, and I was active in the church, so I never had a negative thought about this pastor at all. So to get a dream like that, I'm like, this has to be from God, and it was, the dream ended up manifesting and really coming to pass in more ways than one. But God revealed that, he gave me that dream. And then shortly after that, he led me to leave both of the ministries that I was serving in at that church. And that was a lot too, because like I said, I loved being a part of these ministries. I loved being a part of that church. And I didn't understand. At this, like I said, God had never spoken to me prophetically. I didn't know what that was like, but I started hearing things, and things were being put on my heart, and I couldn't explain. Like, I knew it was from God because I knew of the prophetic. I was in a church that was heavy in the prophetic, so I knew of it. And I actually did attend a beginner's prophetic class at that church, and I went, something just, I'm like, oh, okay, let me go. I can learn more about the prophetic, but I'm not learning it because I'm like, oh, I know I'm called to be a prophet and prophesy over people. But I went as a means of gaining a skill in this area. Like, I'm like, okay, this is open for anybody who wants to go, and so I joined, and so I learned more about the prophetic, and was activated and things like that. They did a lot of that at that church. And so I knew about the prophetic. I knew about it, but, it wasn't something that I thought about or practiced a lot of, but at that time, God, when I got that dream, he, everything changed. Everything changed for me, because I couldn't believe that I saw that. And, I did seek out counsel of some other, prophets that are well known. And they also confirmed, that what I heard was from God, so I did seek out counsel that, had more experience than I did in that area, because I was new to that. That was the first dream I ever had like that. And they confirmed, that I heard from God, that was from God, and that God was beginning to call myself and my husband out of that church. And so, my husband, when I sought him about it, because he, of course, I went to my husband and told him about the dream as soon as I had it. Of course, he was the first one that knew about it. And he agreed, he actually suggested me, to seek out the counsel of these prophets, to share with them the dream I had and to just get their interpretation, because they had the gift, to interpret dreams. So, he told me, like, yeah, they're having this, live Zoom call, jump on there and share your dream. So I did. And they, revealed that was directly from God, and God was calling myself and my husband out of that church. So shortly after we did leave, even though everything was online, but we stopped, attending the online church, stopped, looking at the services. So we just distanced ourselves completely. And after that time, I started hearing from God like crazy prophetic. That's when I began to have visions, and he was giving me words, and I started sharing those on my social media, on my Instagram. But it was like, I shared them as posts. I wasn't recording and doing what I'm doing now. So this was all an evolution, you all, that started in 2020 when I started, hearing from God prophetically. And he started sharing things with me to share with everybody else. So it came as a complete shock to people on social media that, I was a different Dominique. And now here I am sharing these words. And people are like, where is this coming from? Like, what is this stuff you're sharing? And I'm like, God gave me this to share, And I still didn't 100% understand it all, but I just obeyed. God is like, I want you to share this. This is what I'm saying. So I put it out there, because I wanted to obey God. I was in that place where I'm like, Lord, I want to obey you, And then there was like I said, it was different things that God called me to do. I was a part of this sorority that I loved. It was a wonderful sorority. I loved my sisters. And it was a Christian sorority, and I was a faithful member for 4 years, and God called me to leave that sorority. And I was real bothered by that, because I'm like, what do you mean, Lord? But I think a little bit before he really confirmed that, I started feeling differently about it, and I didn't understand, but I still love the sororities. I don't know why I'm feeling this way, but God was putting it on me. And then he, ended up telling me, like, I want you to, to withdraw your membership. And I'm like, okay. So, and that was later in, I believe in like earlier of 2021 that he started putting that on my heart. And then I officially left, in September, like maybe a little bit in early September of 2021. So that was a little bit later, but that's what I'm saying. Over this, from 2020 to 2021 was when, everything started coming to full circle for me, as far as hearing more from God prophetically, and him giving me words and visions and dreams about things that were happening and things that were to come. And I started just sharing it. And like I said, I didn't understand a lot of it. So I was really beginning my training with that, and God was training me. So, I was thinking like, oh, should I, join a prophetic program? And God said, no, I will be your trainer. I will train you, because what I'm giving you is from me. I'm the best teacher, you know? So I said, okay, Lord, all right. So God has been training me. He has been prepping me. He has been leading me on what to do. And I thank him, for that, So that is how I got to this point, to where God has put me in this position. So as you all can see, it was not a beautiful process. It wasn't nothing like that. It happened during a time where the world changed. Like I said, the year of the global pandemic, everything changed for everybody concerning the pandemic. But for me, it changed for, the better. And I also want to add to that another thing that happened in 2020. 2020 was just a year of a lot of stuff. Okay. So on top of God calling me prophetically, 2020 was also the year that I became pregnant with my first child. And I conceived in probably end of April, early May. That's when I found out. And I got to 17 weeks before I miscarried in August of 2020. So around that time that I miscarried, like right before I miscarried, my husband and I had joined another church in Chicago. And that was a great church too. We were there for a whole year. But when we first joined, I was pregnant. So a few weeks after we joined, I miscarried. And that was such a rough time for me, miscarrying my child. Like I said, that all of this happened in 2020. Like I got pregnant, I miscarried, God started talking to me prophetically and leading me on what to do. All of this happened in that 1 year, so it was more than just a pandemic for me that happened in 2020, So while everybody was focused on that, I had a lot that I was dealing with here, and I believe now that all of that happened during that year for a reason. All in 1 year, I got pregnant and I lost the baby, and God commissioned me, as a prophet, all in that 1 year. And it was divine. I know that was something that God allowed because he has a plan. He had a plan for my life. He has a plan for all of us before we're conceived in our mother's womb. He has a plan for us. He knows where he wants us to be, but we can only get there if we agree, if we yield to God's plan for our life, and so that is what I've been doing. I've been yielding to God as best as I can, and it's been a rocky road, as you all have heard from the messages and the conversations between me and Jesus. Like, there are moments when I fall. There are moments when I'm distracted, and he has me share that to show the reality of it, that it's not beautiful and pretty. It's not. It's a real thing, and what we have is a real relationship, and it has its ups and downs. There's moments where I'm not talking to him or I'm not hearing from him as clearly because it's something going on with me. Either I'm being too worldly, I'm being too sensual, I'm too distracted, something else is grabbing my attention and I can't hear from him. All of that interferes the way that we hear God. So we have to be mindful of that too. And, on top of that, which I have also shared, is, I have been struggling with conceiving another child. And I found out after I got pregnant, right after I found out that I was pregnant, I found out that I have what's called uterine fibroids, and I had multiple of them. And around that time, they were pretty big, and they had grown to the biggest one had grown to about 12 centimeters. So like what, the size of a grapefruit or a little bit bigger than that. And then I had some other bigger ones like 8 centimeters, 7 centimeters, so that's pretty big. And I still have them, so I'm going through that process now to get them removed, to help with chances of fertility. And I've been praying because I was against surgery, and I'm like, I'm gonna do this holistically. So then I went through a whole process where I started, losing weight and becoming more healthy and physically fit. And I'm still doing that. I've, lost a lot of weight over those years too. and preparation to try to get my body healthy enough, for multiple reasons, to, carry a child to full term, and just to take care of my body, because we should be, keeping our bodies together. God says our bodies are a temple for his spirit, so we shouldn't treat them horribly. Now, does that mean that I don't snack on things and, still have those urges? No, I still struggle, but I always find my way back, and I ask God, like, Lord, help me with this, help me with this, because I struggle just like we all do, So with all of that, where I am today is I'm just following God. I'm just learning to yield to him every single day. As you heard from this testimony, I'm not perfect at all. So when you hear these messages, know that it is coming from an imperfect vessel that struggles every single day just to stay close to Jesus in this dark world that just gets darker by the day. But we know that the only light is Jesus. He's the light of the world. So if we stay close to him, if we open up our hearts to him, then we have all that we need. We have light, even if everything around us is darkness. And one of the things that he just brought to me, I when I have visions of me and him together, oftentimes we're in this, we're in the spirit realm and it's dark. There are dark clouds around us. And I kept noticing that. And I was thinking, was it me? Am I seeing stuff wrong? And Jesus told me, no, you're seeing what I'm showing you. He was like, it's darkness all around. But if you're with me, I'm the light. So what I was seeing was actually what he was showing me. So every time that I was going in the spirit, there were dark clouds around us, but I would stay close to him and he would shine. He was illumined, and that's it, because he's the light of the world. So if there is no Jesus in this world, then you're not going to see anything but darkness. There's going to be nothing but darkness. So we have to stay close to him. We have to stay close to him to get through and to be able to move through this future, because there's so much coming, even, as we enter into 2024, and I'll be sharing the word for 2024 soon. We have to brace ourselves, because we are going to be entering into an age of deception going into this next year. And like I said, I'll share a separate word for next year that God is sharing and he's preparing us for. We have to get ready, because it's going to be a lot thrown at us, more than this year, more than last year, more than the year before. We're entering into a new age, and we have to prepare, because it's going to be very rocky. It's going to be very challenging. There's going to be a lot of suffering. But if we stay close to Jesus, we will make it through. We might come out with a little bruises and scratches, some injuries, but we will still be breathing if we have him. And when we get through that, he will revive us. He will heal us. He'll heal up those scars, those battle scars. Yes, Lord, those battle scars. We're going to have battle scars. But if we stick with him, he will heal those scars in due time, due season. But right now we have to endure the scars. We have to go through the battle. We're in it right now, and we're getting into the thick of it. So we have to endure. We have to keep going. We got to wear the battle scars until Jesus heals them. And the day that he does is the day that the battle's over. All right. So I hope that this testimony helped to encourage you. I hope that it helps you to know that no matter where you are, no matter what your story is, your story may not look like mine. It may be similar to mine. Wherever you are, know that God loves you, and know that he wants to be in relationship and wants to be in fellowship with you more than anything else. You can hear from him. Like I said, I am not perfect. I am a normal human being. I'm a normal woman. I am not anybody big. I don't have no big following. I don't have people that know my name. No, I'm a normal woman that God is choosing to speak through, and he can speak through you too. He just wants you to come to him. He just wants you to give your heart and your life to him, and he will be right there, and he will speak through you. He will flow through you. Okay? So thank you so much for listening to this testimony. I pray it encouraged you. I love you all, and God bless you. Until the next message.